Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning. This is Vernon Oakes on Everything Co-op. How you doing this morning? This is a great Thursday morning to be on the air. The sun is up. But, you know, there is just a lot of construction out there this morning. A lot of traffic, a lot of construction. And we have Miss Nikki. How are you doing this morning?
I am all right. How are you? Very brisk.
Well, I am doing great.
Well, it's good to be with you this morning.
I'm glad you were able to get here okay. I got into a traffic jam. They were doing construction on the road.
Tacoma Park is very busy.
Yes.
To say the least.
Okay, so we're going to talk about food co-ops this morning.
All right.
I had an extraordinary time shopping last night in
GLUT.
GLUT.
You came by the store, I was told.
Yes, and I'm surprised though. I don't see GLUT anywhere. I've been doing this show now for 3 years, and I know about the Greenbelt Food Co-op, the Silver Springs Food Co-op. And you guys have been around for how long?
Almost 50 years.
50 years.
Yeah, we started in 1969. So we're coming up on our 50th anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
Well, we hope to make it to 50.
Why don't I know about you guys?
Oh, well, it's not that we keep a low profile, but advertising is expensive. We have a very loyal customer base from all over the area, people outside of the area. We were begun as sort of a food desert operation, although I don't know that term was used so much at that time. But the young man who was one of the original founders was very aware of that sort of an environment, particularly in cities where your conventional grocery stores had kind of abandoned neighborhoods and they were just left with corner markets. And so when the project began, he and various friends, it wasn't initially a co-op as such. It was more of a buying club situation, and then it evolved into what it is today, a worker managed business.
Worker managed and owned?
Well, we don't really think of ourselves as owners. You know, we're a trust. I think that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. You know, when you come, you work. You don't get a salary. We're paid hourly. Everyone has responsibilities either on the shift or as a worker there at the store. And when you leave, you leave. You know, when you quit, you're gone. And you don't take a piece of the store with you as if you were an owner buying out a part of the business or something, you know.
How many worker owners are there? How many?
How many of us are there?
Yes.
There's 12 of us now, and we also have a system of barter workers. I don't know. I think business has a number of names for them. If and when, short-term contract, you know. Mm-hmm. But people from the community come and they, as you would say, volunteer, and we compensate them with credit, the equivalent of minimum wage and store credit. And that's always been a big piece of our work. You could say it's a big piece of our work because it's about community involvement, but it helps us to get certain sort of the work there at the store done. A lot of the bagging for the nuts and seeds and dry fruits, things like that. Volunteers do that. They repackage our bread delivery every morning. They help us with a variety of things and then cleaning up at the end of the day. And it's great because it gives another source of income to community people, and it gives them an experience in how the business works. And I think a lot of the volunteers that come really feel an engagement with us.
Well, let's start off by, what's the name of the cooperative?
It's GLUT Food Co-op.
GLUT Food Co-op. Address?
4005 34th Street in Mount Rainier, Maryland.
4005
34th Street.
34th Street.
In Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier, Maryland. And it's right off of Rhode Island Avenue, at least Route 1 going out.
Yes.
And then if anybody knows where the circle is, that's when you get the
circle. Bus turnaround. Yeah.
That's right. It's a block away from that circle.
Uphill.
Okay. So it's an awesome find for me. I mean,
thank you.
I shop at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and Greenbelt Food Co-op. Mm-hmm. And what I found so interesting there is the variety of things that you have in the store, and your price was 20% lower than Whole Foods on the things that I buy.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's we're a vegetarian business. There are some minor things that, like the gelatin capsules that we have for some of our supplements, that sort of thing. But as a vegetarian store, there are people who aren't going to be able to satisfy their entire shopping experience there. Okay. So for that reason, they may go some other place. But also because of our focus on being vegetarian, the concept of food for people, not for profit, which was a big holdover over from the 70s, something for people,
right,
not necessarily for profit. And that trying to keep our prices down that way. And then an exploration of organic and natural, which we've always, for many, many years at least, tried to do. And not everything in the store is organic, but the idea is that we want to provide good quality food for people at reasonable prices. We did bulk before bulk was chic,
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of things like that. I'm glad you found a lot of variety there. We try. It's kind of packed in.
It is packed.
Can you imagine what it was like before we went over into that extension? We were just originally that storefront, and it was a grocery store many years ago.
So a food desert, just to go back to that term you use now, is food desert is where you cannot get fresh fruits and vegetables. And so in the 1969-ish, that's when I was graduating from college. That's when you got started. And 50 years ago. Okay, that's awesome. That's really great. Now, how are we going to let people know about you guys?
By word of mouth and just by being in the community. Some of our oldest shoppers know about other businesses like Stone Soup from many, many years ago. And there was a market, more like a wholesale market on Florida Avenue. All these places have faded away. Beautiful Day Trading Company in College Park is gone. We're just a holdover from that period. But we're seeing a lot of difficulty these days because there is more shopping in the area.
We're going to come back to that more difficulty.
Why don't you know about it? I think it's generally our lack of advertising. Advertising is very expensive.
We're going to see what we can help you with that now.
Yeah, that would be nice.
This place is nice. Listen, we're going to take our first break. This is Everything Co-op. If you have any questions of Nikki, you can call us in at 1-800-450-7876. Information is power. This is why the National Cooperative Bank is sponsoring this program and why WOL is such a great, great partner. We're trying to give you the information about cooperatives, and this morning we're talking about GLUT Food Cooperative in Mount Rainier, Maryland. The information that we're giving you is to help you to understand what a cooperative is, that maybe you might go start one on your own or you'll look for co-ops. The great find that we have just found out with GLUT Food Co-op is they had excellent variety of foods, and I've just found out it's vegetarian foods, but at a lower price, and that always catches me. And by the way, I live at East Capitol and Benning Road, which is
right there.
Right in D.C., and I've got to drive, like I said, to Whole Foods or Greenbelt, and I kind of think you are closer to me than those other places I go.
Definitely Greenbelt, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to be seeing me in the store.
Good.
I don't know if I'll volunteer or not.
No, you're a busy guy.
Do you go by the cooperative principles, the values and principles, values of honesty and openness and
we try.
social responsibility?
We try, yes, we try.
Caring
we do.
for others?
Yes. Usually when we have donations, they're local, the local schools, Joe's Movement Emporium, that sort of thing. Honesty, we try to be as honest as we can with our customers. Sometimes it's a little difficult because people don't understand these days how the marketplace works. They think they do, but they don't. And, I try hard not to feel anxious when somebody's at the register explaining to me how, well, I got this at this store and that at that store. And, because they're just talking,
Mm-hmm.
And we try to do the best we can. We try to stay responsive to our consumers' needs.
Judy has just joined us on the line. We've got Nikki Thompson in the studio.
Judy.
Good morning, Judy.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. Good.
Oh, okay, cool. Good morning.
As I said, I was in the store last night. I met Kim and maybe three or four people in there.
Zaya should have been there.
Zaya. And somebody was on a cash register.
That was Zaya.
That was Zaya. Rastafarian looking man. And y'all were playing Rasta music, so I was dancing while I was shopping.
Yeah, he has a band. Many of us have other work that we also do. Our salary isn't the greatest there, and so a lot of people have to have additional work that they do. But there are about half. Judy, don't you think like half of us have been there for a number of years now? Quite a while. Judy and I have been there for 20 years.
How long you been there, Judy?
Let's see. My oldest son is 35. So, he's 30. Yeah, he's 35. So it's been 35 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nikki, how long you been there?
Oh, I'll see. I came in like 86 or 87. So it's been a while.
40 years.
No, not 40. But it's not as long as Judy, but it's been a while. Judy, you were expecting a baby when I came. That was one of the reasons I got hired. So
okay, yeah, my second child. Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, you are cooperative. You about 12 people that work there. GLUT Food Co-op. Prices that my quick shopping last night was about 20% lower than what I normally pay for food stock. The food was excellent in quality. I ate my dinner from there last night. So.
Great. Well, you asked if we followed the co-op principles, but I think one of the biggest points that I would like to make is that we use consensus decision-making. And we have business meetings every other week. And when we have issues that need to be resolved, they're brought up at the meeting. If we were to ever give ourselves a raise, that would be something that we would have to discuss. Store hours, customer behavior, volunteer behavior, all those things are discussed at meetings.
So I got the first principle is volunteer and open membership, and the second one is democratic member control, and you're talking about, and then the fourth one is autonomy and independence. So when you say consensus making, that's
consensus decision making.
Consensus decision making. Okay, so that means that you have to have a vote, and
we have to come to an agreement. We have
is
to
that
have
100% of the people? Majority.
A majority, yeah, not always 100%. We have ways to deal with that because sometimes we can't quite come to 100% of the vote. But don't you agree, Judy?
That's right. Right.
So
but it works out somehow. It generally works out. We figure things out, and it go along, keep on getting up.
Can you give me an example of maybe the latest decision that you had where you could not come up with 100%?
Yeah, what do you think we could talk about on the radio, Judy?
Well, What I'm trying to get to is
where we did not.
Where you did not.
How about where we did? We just brought in a new product line. We brought in Hex Ferments from Baltimore. Their kombucha and sauerkraut and kimchi. It was excellent stuff. And so we had samples at the meeting, and we all smacked our lips over it and did a tasting, and we all firmly agreed that product was coming into the store. We did agree. Hiring is very, very difficult.
Right, yeah.
Hiring is always a really difficult.
Yeah. There was a case whereas there was a worker that wanted to be hired, but, it didn't, everybody did not come to a consensus on it. But
okay, so did that
got
person,
over it.
Did you end up hiring the person or not without the consensus?
We did not, because everybody could not come to a consensus. And although the person was hired years later on. So.
Okay.
So things work out somehow.
So okay, you're in the room with 12 people, or maybe you have 10 of them there or whatever, some number of people, and this person comes up, let's say it's John Doe, says, I've been working here in voluntary, and I would like to work here full-time or 30 hours a week or something. And then you all decide, and Judy, you're for the person, and Nikki, you're against the person for whatever reason. So you all sit there and talk about it?
Oh, definitely.
Do you holler at each other, scream at each other? Or?
Well, we try not to scream, but there's some raised voices. quite often there's some raised.
So therefore, yeah, but never to the point where it came to blows.
No, we've had people actually walk out occasionally, but but we try not to do that. We try to be civil adults and come to consensus, because that's how we have a workplace that can function. How can you work with people that you can't get along with? You got to be able to work that out.
Well, I tell you, I think this is one of the fundamental, and this is really the first time in the 3 years I've had people to talk about this particular part of cooperation is how do you solve, let me tell you what I've come up with. In the Bible it says where two or more are gathered in his name, God is there also. Okay. And I've come to the conclusion that when you have two or more people together, you're going to have disagreement, and you need God.
Exactly. Definitely.
So if you got 10 or 12 people in the room, you're definitely going to have differences of opinion. And so how do you resolve that? And listening to each other seems to be one way of at least getting to a possible consensus.
Right. Well, one of my coworkers says I pick my battles. So they may be more easygoing about how the decisions are made, and they may feel that if the majority is moving in a certain direction, they'll work with it. They'll just work with it. Mm-hmm. And other people are extremely adamant. It's my way or the highway. But we talk and talk, and you try to persuade people. Sometimes we come up with temporary solutions. Occasionally we have to table business. Okay. Give ourselves time to think about it. Yeah, and I'm still thinking specifically over the last few years.
Yeah. Yes, we have. Although we have maintained, and we've been able to, get through it without anybody coming back hating us, coming back doing something crazy. So, yeah, we're all right. Work it out.
Well, how you said you meet every other week? A business meeting every other week?
Yeah, because we pay ourselves a nominal amount of time to be there, and so it just became too expensive to do it every week.
Yeah, it was every week up until when things changed with the economy and such. We had to change.
Cut back a little bit. But we have an awareness board and we have an agenda board, and they tend to get smushed together, but because the awareness is just be aware, and we don't always read those things. It's if you have notes to leave each other or things that you think would be topical for discussion. But the agenda is it's more topics that we have to discuss and we may have to have a vote on. We have bylaws, we have rules.
Okay. I like this a lot. I like co-ops a lot. So now let's go to member economic participation. We want to talk, that's the third principle. I want to talk about that in education, training, and information after we get our second break here. I can't believe, I'm just excited about your company.
Well, we don't have member financial participation because we're open to the general public. So
Well, I think you do.
You think we do?
I think you do.
Well, all right. It'd be good to hear you say that.
I think you do. All right, we're going to take our second break here. So please don't touch the dial. We'll be right back after we get the traffic, the weather, and the news. Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes on Everything Cooperative. We're talking about GLUT Food Cooperative this morning. We have Nikki in the studio and Judy on the line with us today. They have been working 35 years at GLUT, and you really need to go by the store. It's phenomenal, all of the food stock that they have there for the prices. I said we were going to talk about member economic participation, and that's the third principle. And normally there's a fee to pay to get into a cooperative. At least I live in a housing cooperative, and there's a fee to get in. And then if there's profit, then the members decide how that profit will be divided up between the members, or you mentioned already donating money to the community, or what do you do with the monies that are surplus over and above? And the one that I like best is education, training, and information. And over the break, Nick and I was talking about how you train people about the financials, this economic participation. So I got from you, Nikki, that there is no money to pay in. The 12 people that work there,
we're a worker co-op, not
right.
a consumer co-op.
Understand.
And so that's that big difference. I think some of our workers feel that a pound of flesh is being taken from them every time they come in because our salary is not that great. But you don't see people leaving easily. Once you start being your own manager, managing your time, being able to order and present products to the consumers, there's a certain joy to that. I mean, for me, Judy, I think you feel the same way. You have
it is. No, it's not a lot of pay. We don't get paid nothing, but it's more of a dedication, and you just want to give folks a product that it's not overly costly, and we take a loss because, like I said, we're not getting paid a whole lot of money. I mean, I know I get paid more money if I wouldn't work for Whole Foods, but GLUT, it's just nice being there. It's a nice community store. It's just, I don't know. That's why I've been there so long, being my own boss, work when I want to, and just helping folks. That's what I like. That's my passion about being there.
So what I get for compensation is more than money, and what you're talking about are the intangibles that people. Well, let me say it this way: do you like what you're doing?
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Yes, I love what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
I love what I'm doing. Yes.
So that is the main intangible about working in co-ops, and I want to go back to what Nikki said. You got a worker cooperative and a consumer cooperative are the main two groups, and it depends on who owns and controls the business. In this case, the workers own and control the business. Some food co-ops are consumer owned and controlled. That's the people that uses or buys the products, like a housing co-op that I belong to, that I live in. The people that live in it, that uses the product, the housing, we own and control it. And there's a great joy in having some say about what you do during the day, and then helping people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Definitely so.
Yes. That sums it up.
That's why I said I wanted to talk about this member economic participation, because it's more than money. You get joy in life, and when you wake up in the morning and say, well, do you have trouble getting out of the bed and go to work? Do you have trouble?
Yeah, but well, as workers, we have a certain schedule that we have to work. Not hours of the day, but you have a certain number of shifts to work per week. We have a weekend work commitment, which can be a little painful. You're working every weekend. You're working sometime every weekend, and then around that, you have to figure out when to get in there and stock your section, order your section. Yeah, there's...
Well, trouble, I myself personally, I don't, like I said, I like coming in and doing things. And the only trouble I'm having is with my back, my injured back, And this is due to an accident about a year ago. And I'm dealing with that. But other than that, I enjoy coming in there and doing what I have to do.
Doing what needs to be done.
And it's a challenge, with all the things I have to do. I have a lot of things I have to order. But I like making people happy, getting them the things they need. So, yeah.
Well, we have a lot of liberty, too. For instance, I research a lot of new products. I do a lot of what you call dry goods grocery. And Judy, because she's not able to stand at the store as much as she was before, she's taken on some additional responsibility. She took a food safety class, and she now makes things to sell at the store. And so, in a conventional business, to be able to have the freedom to do something like that, you'd probably have to push all sorts of levers and pull all sorts of chains to get the management to let you do it.
Right.
But you are the management.
We are the management.
Right.
And Judy decided this was something that she wanted to do, and we didn't really talk about it at meetings. I don't think we did, Judy, but everybody agreed that it was working out. If things hadn't been selling, we would have talked about it for sure. But
I just need to get more productive with it. But
it really would.
So this education training in number 5, Judy went out and took a training class to figure out food safety so she could do additional things. What we were talking during the break about financial training, that how often you meet every other week, how often you go over the finances to see how well you're doing. My day job is I manage apartment buildings and co-ops and condos.
Right.
So I produce financials for each property each month, and we try to have it out by the 10th of the month so we can go over it with the board so they can see the decisions they made last month, how well they did or didn't do, and then what decisions they've got to make in the future, whether that's new roofs or cleaning or whatever it might be. So how often do you all do your financial statements, your financials with your 12?
Well, it's brought to the meeting. Chris brings it to the meeting. He has a financial statement from the accountant.
every 3 months.
Yeah, and we don't really talk about it as well as we should. We usually use our bank account. We usually use our checking account as our gauge because we're solvent. We're able to write checks to pay for product as it comes in. It's not as if we have to lean on that 30-day net thing. But over the last number of years, since before the 2008 financial problems, we were seeing a lot of change in the marketplace. I always have used the idea that we're on the front of the roller coaster. And if the economy is going up or if the economy is going down, we're the first to see it. We really feel it. And I don't know if that's because of our small size. I'm just not.
It could have a lot to do with, a lot of other stores opening up, such as Whole Foods.
Very close by.
Yeah.
There's a mile away.
Market, yes.
Whole Foods is coming about a mile and a half away.
Yeah.
Yes isn't too far away. There's a brand new 24-hour-a-day Safeway a mile away. But it's interesting because that Safeway moved from closer to me in my neighborhood, and I only live a mile from the store. It moved from like about a quarter of a mile from me over a little bit more into a bigger, glitzier store with more parking, et cetera, et cetera. These big businesses do what they do, and they do what they do to make money specifically. And we want to make money, but we're not there to make money. That's not our goal. Yeah, that's not our mission statement. Our mission statement is good food for people at a reasonable price.
Right.
And we want to make some money because we got to pay ourselves and put the lights on and buy refrigeration equipment. But, that doesn't mean we act like fools. We have responsibility to ourselves and to each other. Try to keep losses to a minimum, if nothing else, because that's food waste. But we do talk about finances a lot, more in a general sense, not specifically. You've got to bring that down by X amount of money. We haven't prices, when I listen to them talk on programs now about, well, and we're anticipating inflation. We want inflation. And I keep thinking, oh my God, because customers come in and they say, well, your price went up on that. And I said, well, we haven't changed our markup in years. Prices have just gone up. And so consumers, they know that, they understand that, but they tell us, do they do that at Safeway? Do they say to the cashiers, well, the price went up on this? Do they go into Whole Foods and say, oh yeah, the price went up on that? I doubt it, but they tell us all the time. The price went up. Well, we're not making any more money than we did, but the price of goods has gone up.
Yeah, that is a huge one. That is a huge one. Then cooperation among cooperative. Do you do any cooperation with the housing co-ops in the area, or
no, not really.
Credit unions, or
no, not really. And I think it's because of our distinct standing as a worker business rather than a board-driven business. There used to be an entity called the Mid-Atlantic Co-op Alliance, and all the co-ops would get together at a monthly meeting and interact with our largest grocery supplier to come up with a sales flyer. And some of the other co-ops went their own way. They found distributors that they preferred to deal with in that manner, and not to be too technical. And so that union dissolved, but that's been a few years now. That's been maybe 8 or 9 years at least. But I think the co-ops used to interact a little bit more. There's the Bethesda Co-op. We never hear anybody talk about Bethesda Co-op anymore, do you, Judy?
Never hear of it, no.
Oh, they're still there, I guess they are.
I guess, yeah.
We have no problem referring people to another store if they've got something that we don't. We're always sending people to Smile Herb Shop or Blue Nile Herb Shop. But TPSS and CNTPSS, their board had them split into 2 entities at one point.
What are those initials for?
Tacoma Park Silver Spring Co-op. So they have the Tacoma Park Co-op and the Silver Spring Co-op now. But they're all board driven. They're a different animal than we are. Quite the different story. And we do all of our training in-house, and we train our volunteers, and we could be better about training, don't you think, Judy? I think maybe.
Always can improve the training, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the seventh principle is concern for community, and it seems like you are community driven in your mission. Excellent food at the lowest possible price.
We try.
Right. We try. Yeah.
We try. I'm always looking for new things. And Judy has some products in her section that aren't carried at other stores. One of the items that I've got is a kind of a cracker, and the lady said, "You're the only place on the East Coast that I have my product. Do you know anybody else that wants to carry my product?" And I thought, why are you asking me this? Mm-hmm. I appreciate having something that nobody else does,
Mm-hmm.
So,
what is that cracker?
A Living Spoonful. It's one of these sort of raw cracker products, and it's from Oregon.
Oregon?
And seasonally, I go. We bring in this fresh pressed apple cider from a local grower, Heiser Farm of New Hampshire Avenue. And they used to deliver to us, and they could not, several years ago, they could not do it any longer. So I took it upon myself to, because if they didn't deliver it, we wouldn't have gotten it. So I go weekly and get it, when the season is in. And it's one of the best things around as far as fresh cider. And they grow apples also. They grow apples there, and they have a pharmacist bank. It's really nice.
So GLUT is a collective food cooperative, and we're going to take our next break, and then we'll come back. And if anybody out there has a question or concern, please call in at 1-800-450-7876. We'll be right back.
You're one of...
1450 WOL.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks of Everything Cooperative. We have GLUT Food Cooperatives, GLUT. How did you all come up with that name in 1969? GLUT.
That is a most asked question. And, well, we figured it was never, I mean, we was told that, it's like because, to glut, to overeat.
Yeah.
It's like one of the 7 sins.
Yeah, people would say, oh, look at those gluttons and all that stuff they have. Can I say what Peter used to say, or is that just too a little too?
Well, before you said, I like your shirt, your 40-year shirt, 1969.
Yeah, Judy, I'm wearing our orange shirt. Still cheap, still funky.
Well, does it say 40? I think it's close to 50 now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it says still cheap, 40. Still funky.
Still cheap, still funky.
We're funky, all right.
Food for people, not for profit.
Right.
4005 34th Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. The telephone number is 301-779-1978. Established in 1969. Now, do you think you can say whatever Peter used to say?
Oh, God bless Peter. Well, it's all part of our working to have an environment that people feel safe working in, too.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we've had a number of issues that we've had to deal with. We've had to deal with sexual harassment and come up with a policy. We've many different things. Any big business, if they've had a problem, we've had those problems, too. But dear Peter, when he came out, he was a gay gentleman that worked with us, and he said, "Oh, it stands for Gays and Lesbians United Together."
Oh, GLUT, Gays and Lesbians United Together.
And he used to laugh about that because that was before it was so socially acceptable to admit that you were gay. But
I never heard that one.
You didn't hear? Well, Peter and I used to work late into the night together. He was our cheese ordering person for a long time.
Well, that's what I wanted to get into next was how do you all? You are responsible for the bulk?
For me?
Yeah.
No, Chris orders all of our bulk grains and flours and beans, that sort of thing, our dried fruits and nuts. He manages all of that area. Judy manages personal care, which is a very broad range of products, including some tonics and supplements. And Zaya orders supplements, and I order a lot of what you call dry goods groceries. It's cereals and crackers and cookies and mixes and candy. Oh, chocolate, definitely the chocolate. I have an extensive chocolate section. And Raquel orders produce. So everybody has different area of the store that they manage. Janatra orders cheese. And then some people have, we have what we call support workers. So we have a few people that are not yet hired on as workers. And they may not want to be. And they work less hours. They make just a tiny bit less than what we do. And they get sort of the last pick of the hours that are shifts that are left over. But it's okay because it allows them a lot of liberty. They're not bound to order and stock a section. And so we have several people in that position that help us out too.
So when you're ordering, do you have rules like you can only have $50,000 in this area, or
no? That's been one of the difficult things because some of us have a lot more backstock than others, but we constantly remind ourselves, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. And if you don't think you can sell it, don't order it, or if you order it, promote it. I mean, Judy, don't you think that's how it goes?
Yeah, but it's come to where, if we don't order it, we won't have a business because people ask for things. People are in demand for things. And there are things we have to have now because we've been carrying it. And if we don't have it, it's like, where is it at? Where is it at? So.
Well, that's always the balancing act with inventory.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Explaining why you don't carry certain item anymore. And then things come and go. Products disappear. If you don't have a wholesaler, then what are you going to do? Well, I have things that I buy direct, and so does Judy. I have an excellent garlic hot sauce called Phil number 7 from Brooklyn. It's really good. And so I direct order that. I direct order certain chocolates.
So a hot sauce called Phil?
FIL number 7. It's hot. It's a garlic hot sauce. It's hot. It's beautiful. Cool. And I just picked up a new chocolate line, Hue, H-U, short for Hue, man. It's a paleo chocolate from New York. It's really, really good. Cocoa Parlor
That's another
from
thing.
California. Judy has the Zeresh line that's extremely popular. Body lotions and cleaners, and they're shea butter based. They're incredibly popular.
What were you going to say, Judy?
I was going to say that we have a large a line of products that you can't find other places, such as Zeresh shea butter line, and black soap and black seed oil, and Nikki's Fi-Fi salt for PC sauce. But a lot of other things.
What's Nikki Fi-Fi?
Oh, the Phil sauce.
The Phil sauce.
That's just one of many things, because you were looking for a specific example.
Right. Yeah.
But getting back to the supplier aspect, a gentleman that used to work for us, Ed Muller, now has a business up near Berkeley Springs, and it's Potomac Whole Foods. So he is a wholesaler, and he brings us a lot of our bulk flour and our bulk molasses and maple syrup, and because we have a section of bulk liquids, which is really very, very popular.
Yeah.
You bring your own jars?
You bring your own container. Anything that we sell in bulk, rice, beans, flour, and we have customers that are adamant recyclers. They use those bags until they fall apart. And so you bring your own. If it's a bag, well, you don't weigh it. But if it's a jar or something with any significant weight at all, you get it weighed empty, and we tear it, subtract that weight, and you can take your own containers home. We love it when people recycle, and try to be socially conscious that way too.
Yeah.
There's some customers that wish we would recycle more, but you can't very well have raisins in a bulk bin. It would be really, really messy. But for people like Ed, he's a smaller wholesaler, and I think it helps to better regulate the marketplace when there are people like that around. We used to have another one called Shepherd's Health, and he retired finally. But those businesses are critical to our business.
So there's this thing now. We talked about food deserts earlier, but from the farm to the table. And so do you go out and buy directly from farmers in season?
A little bit. We use Tuscarora Organic Co-op out of Pennsylvania. They supply some of our produce, and then we have some other regular grocery providers. But for the last 2 summers, we've had a couple from Southern Maryland and Swan Farm, and they bring us tomatoes and some peppers, various things like that, and watermelons as big as your head. Don't you think, Judy? As big as a boat.
Well, they were good watermelons.
They were. But they were supplying us twice a week all through the summer. And they're just a couple with a farm, Southern Maryland. So we do try to do that. We had a gentleman bringing us persimmons. He's done that for a number of years now from Virginia. So we don't do as much of that as I wish we did for farmers, but people can come to us. In our deli case, right, Judy, we have that as a consignment operation for sandwiches and spreads and things. And so if you had a certified kitchen you made things in, you could come to us and say, could you carry my product? And we would do a taste test at a meeting. And then you would be allowed a certain amount of space, and you would bring the product in. If it didn't sell, you'd have to, as you'd say, eat it.
Right.
Well, for a small producer, that's not a bad idea. It gives you a chance to try your product out in public. A young woman named Raquel brings us food. She did for a while and then stopped for a significant period of time. But now she's back, and she sells a lot of stuff. She's got good food, doesn't she, Judy?
She came in demand. People wanted her product, and it's pretty good. It's a raw product, and people look for it, and we've helped her get a little more to grow, and we try to support our local folks. One of my products that I carry, like I mentioned, is the shea butter line, which is produced by a young black couple that was in the area. They since moved their business to North Carolina. But they grew just by putting their product in. This is why I took it on, and it's a really nice product. It's very hypoallergenic. Everybody buys it. Everybody loves it. And people even tell me how it has helped their cancer and with Castlewood and so forth. But
you said it. Wait a minute, I didn't get that real clear. But I think you said that this shade product is made by a black couple. They used to be here. They moved to North Carolina, and it's helped with cancer. Well,
a lady mentioned to me the other day how she said that a friend of hers used it after her chemo, and it helped remove the spots on her skin.
Okay.
Yeah, and the couple developed it. The woman who developed it did it due to a health product that she had. It's why she put it on the market. Her dermatologist persuaded her to, and it's big now. Zerush, if you check it out, it's online. It's really big. And
okay, you have that product, and we have to take our final break, and we'll be right back with you guys. I'm going to tell you some of the things I want to do after.
All right.
This is the last segment already? Oh, my God. It's been quick.
It's been quick.
Oh, my God.
Was there something you want to talk about?
Well, just really quick is I'll be coming to your store.
Thank you.
I will.
Bring your friends.
Pat and I will try to figure out how we can help you promote your store.
Thank you.
Great.
And I want to join the committee to taste test. That's my job at home now, so I can extend that out. Be one of the taste testers.
Well, customers a lot of times will come saying, "Can you get item whatever? Can you get this?" And so then it's up to us to search and decide if we have space.
So it's GLUT Foods Co-op at 4005 34th Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. It's excellent, right off of Rhode Island Avenue.
Good.
So it's street parking, but you need to come out and check them out, and we'll be talking more about it. Thank you guys so very much. We had fun.
Thank you very much.
Judy and Nikki, for
Thank you very much,
Vernon.
We'll have you back on again.
And bring your dancing shoes like Vernon. You will be dancing because we always have good music.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Live cooperatively.
$14.50 WOL.